Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be covering some battles that I did in the Great League with 4 different teams. This day I actually did really phenomenal, and I really like the team suggestions that were provided here. I think overall in the day I went like 21-4 or something like that, with some really fantastic games. The first team is Shadow, Abomasnow, Sableye, and Azumarill, which is like a variation of one of my most favorite teams in the Great League, except for instead of Sableye, typically I have Deoxys, but you can also have Alolan, Marowak, just a really flexible option here. So what I like to do here is to throw 2 Weather Balls and kind of like catch the Rock Slide on onto in this case Azumarill. Typically I would catch onto Deoxys, but obviously Sableye is not as tanky, so they actually switch in a little bit late because they want to build up a little bit of energy, but catching that Rock Slide allowed me to do a significant amount of damage. Shadow Bombsnow does beat Stunfisk in the 1 and 2 shield straight Weather Ball, but I like to preserve the health because typically if they have Stunfisk, then they're gonna have grass in the back. So I'm actually gonna switch out here, and I actually want to try to catch the Frenzy Plant, but they stayed very disciplined there, which is good for them. So this is still a pretty decent position for me because they do have to double Rock Slide. They're almost okay. They actually had double Rock Slide, which is totally fine. I'm gonna wait the clock out. I'm probably gonna come in Sableye here, or do I go Azu here? No, I go in Sableye here because I actually do want to try to farm down. I'm able to hit the return here, which is very good for me. That does a significant amount of damage. I do try to catch the move, and then what I do here, this is like because what I don't want to happen is I don't want the Stunfisk to farm me down. So what I did was I took an extra bubble and hoping that we would actually simultaneous KO, and that's actually what ended up happening. This allowed me to outpace the Stunfisk to the move. They had no energy left. If they were going to be able to bubble me down, they might have been able to make it to the EQ against my Sableye. So there, I just allowed them to get that extra bubble in. Worst case scenario, I would farm it down from my own Sableye, and then that would have been a pretty decent spot for me there. You always want to try to think about like how to play out the end game, and there I realized that the end game there. Okay, so I end up getting the Air 6. So I'm actually gonna speed this up a little bit here. Okay, oh no, not okay. A little bit too much here. Okay, so there you go. So another Stunfisk lead here. I'm gonna build up. I think I end up getting the extra Powder Snow through, which is really good for me. So it takes me 9 turns to get to 2 Powder Snows. So they end up coming into Deoxys here, so I'm not throwing. And then what I want to do here is I want to evaluate what move they have. So in this case, they have Rock Slide. So I'm gonna build up basically right before, so they need 1 more counter to get to the second Rock Slide. So if they end up shielding this, I'll do my 1 more Shadow Claw and then throw the Foul Play. So here comes Whimsicott, but this game's over anyway. So like, I'm not even gonna wait at the clock here. This Whimsicott is locked in anyways, and the Power Stones plus Weather Ball will pretty much KO it. I think they end up shielding this again actually, and then actually they don't end up stealing it. So I'm gonna throw the Weather Ball here, and then I'm gonna throw another Weather Ball. I'm a little bit surprised that they switched out into Deoxys, mostly because their Whimsicott is very weak to Abomasnow. So then I switch here, and I think they actually just end up leaving the match because at that point in time I have a shield, and I have an Azumarill. I do have an XL Azumarill, which does have a little bit better play because of the additional bulk, but regular zoom roll would work as well. So in this situation, I tried to get the extra powder snow in. Let's see if I'm able to. They switch out into Machamp. I honestly could have threw a weather ball there, but I'm looking pretty decent here. So I end up letting this go. They rock slide me, totally fine. I'm just gonna straight ice beam them. Ice beam does about like I think like 56% to Machamp, so they would actually end up surviving, but I'm able to bubble down. I thought there was a decent chance that they would let it go, but at this point in time, I'm like looking pretty okay. So at this point in time, I know I'm slightly ahead on energy because they basically had to throw. They got like 6 powder stones worth of energy by farming up against the zoom roll. Really nice timing on their side, but they threw like 7 powder stones worth of energy. So I know I'm slightly ahead, and as well get an extra powder snow through, which is really good for me. So I'm gonna overcharge to throw off their counts. And then, so I throw another weather ball here. They were actually really close to a move there. I'm actually able to, and then here comes, yeah, here comes Arcanine. I respect the spice. So there, they just got enough energy for the crunch or wild charge. So I decided to throw the Arcanine, but the game was pretty much over. So, but I respect the spice. I really think Shadow Arcanine is really fun, but it's kind of tough to have 2 shadows on a team. All right, we're going Shadow Bomb Snow into a zoom roll. So here's the thing. People are always so worried about the energy ball getting caught. When you throw the energy ball, it's at 7 seconds. And it takes 7.5 seconds to get to the ice beam. So you actually throw it in the middle of the bubble. So it's actually impossible to try to catch the move. So I'm actually able to get the extra powder snow through. And I'm going to build up because I think a bomb snow is really important if they're deciding to stay. So I'm going to throw basically a little bit before they get to, or 1 bubble before they get to another ice beam. And then here comes Skarmory. So I'm going to throw this weather ball here. And then I think I go into, yeah, go into Sableye, my safe swap here. They actually not double weak to to Abomasnow, but this is still totally fine. This is going to be an EQ, but I'm actually able to get the extra Shadow Claw in, which is really, really good for me. And then I do have a slightly XL Sableye, so it's able to take the Earthquake a little bit better. I'm able to land back-to-back foul plays without them sneaking an extra mud shot. They end up letting this go, or they end up, well, they have no shields left, so I go into a zoom roll, and I'm going to look to bubble down at this point in time. The EQ, totally fine. I figured the switch was going to come, so I just switch it into Abomasnow. And at this point in time, to be honest, I'm just going to finish the match off with Abomasnow. Abomasnow does beat Skarmory in the one shield, and then you'll see there I'm trying to stay disciplined, seeking my fast move, doing 3 powder snows, then throwing the weather ball, preventing the extra air slash from going through. And then I'm gonna look to farm down, or not farm down, look through the weather ball. But that game is pretty much over at that point in time. So nice utilization for my part from utilizing the safe swap. Even if you win the lead, sometimes you want to give up the lead because you want to be able to gain energy on the last Pokemon. Or to bait out, like present, for example, the potential grass type. So here again, we played this matchup a bunch already. So I got the extra powder snow through, which means I can throw this weather ball here. They actually get that mud shot through. So I'm gonna throw the weather ball, the second one, and then they let that go. And then I throw one more powder snow, and for sure they're going to throw the rock slide because they're so low, right? If they wait any longer, I might be able to powder snow them down. So actually I'm able to catch the rock slide, get the bubble through, which is really good for me. They come into Tropius. I throw the ice beam there. Maybe I should have focused on trying to get an extra bubble through, but it really doesn't matter too much at this point in time. So I'm going to let this go. They need to throw 2 anyways. And then they end up throwing back-to-back. So I know they have 0 energy here. So rather than going to Abomasnow and getting like 2 Powder Snows, what I do here, I take a little bit of a risk here because I am down a shield. I'm actually going to try to Shadow Claw down. And I'm just able to Shadow Claw down, gain a little bit of energy advantage on the last Pokemon, which ends up being Pelipper. And we actually, but I think we both had the idea of potentially sacking there. But I'm in control at this point in time because I do have 2 Pokemon to their 0. So I'm actually gonna let this go. I figure this is gonna be a Weather Ball. It ends up being the Weather Ball, and then I have a foul play stored. So this game is pretty much over at this point in time. I'm actually almost at 2, so I decided to throw okay, they didn't give me the option to throw the move there, which is very annoying. I'm not sure what's up with that glitch, so I'm gonna throw the return. I am 1 short of the double foul play, but return will do enough to KO. Foul play does like about half to Pelipper, and then the return does like 70-80%. So we're gonna move on to the second team. So I love that team. I think that's a really strong and fantastic team. Sableye a really great safe switch here. So this next team pretty interesting. Deoxys, I think it led Zeb 07, one of my loyal Twitch followers and YouTube commenters as well. So this is a good lead. What I should have done was I actually should not have thrown right away on the CMP, because then that allows me to farm very much. So I actually end up switching here because I don't want to get farmed down, and they actually end up switching out of Sableye because they want to preserve the matchup with Deoxys. So that ends up being like pretty decent for me because I know I have Diggersby, which actually just made a rank 13 Diggersby XL. So I ended up shielding the Ice Beam, but that's okay. I'm just looking to chip away at this Azumarill. So I throw the Shadow Ball here. And then at this point in time, I'm just going to throw the Avalanche. I believe this is a CMP tie. And the Avalanche obviously is resisted, doesn't KO. But does good enough damage for me. They're actually throwing the Ice Beam here. And then I'm going to switch out into Diggersby. And then they're going to be met by the Diggersby, and they figure that it's not worth playing out. Which ended up working out pretty decently for me. Diggersby is a normal type, so it does double resist the Shadow Claw damage, and as well is super bulky. So it would be, I think it takes like three foul plays to KO. So kind of a tricky situation for me. So I go into Frostlass here. And this is just a Bubble Beam, which is kind of a weird play. But maybe they have Bubble Beam Ice Beam, which is maybe why they're throwing I'm not entirely sure why, to be honest. They come into Vigoroth, which is obviously not a great counter to Frostlass. I am debuffed though, but I had a bunch of energy, so even debuff, these Avalanches still hurt. Frostlass is, I think, one of the most underrated Pokemon. If you're not into Sylph, you don't really understand the true power of Frostlass, because Frostlass is actually like a really busted Pokemon. Avalanche and Shadow Ball are both fantastic moves. And actually switch back into Deoxys here, because if they come into Jellicent, I'll just Thunderbolt it, which is actually what I want them to do. So they come into Jellicent, and then I throw the Thunderbolt here. And then, so I thought they had enough for the Shadow Ball, so I ended up shielding up Bubble Beam. The Rock Slide might have KO'd there, but I'm actually pretty sure that they could survive, and I didn't want to get Bubble Beamed again. And then this is a pretty good situation for me here. I'm just actually going to force him to throw. So I know it's 4 more to the next Weather Ball, and they threw right away. So what you want to do is try to understand like how these players like to play. So I knew that once I get to 4, they're gonna throw. So I end up just sacking the my own Frost Lass. Probably a little bit unnecessary, to be honest, because I probably could have won this matchup. And then I end up throwing the Earthquake there. But honestly, I thought the Earthquake would have one-shotted, but double Fire Punch would have been better. Because each Fire Punch does about like 40-ish%, and then plus the one shots it would have killed out the KO, and then the Earthquake does about 60%. So here I'm just looking up how much it does, and you know, I kind of did the math roughly in my head. If you would check it out on stream, you'll see how much it does. So all right. And you want to try to like figure out what the best course of the game plan is. Hopefully the music's not too loud. I actually having playing in the background. I'm actually not listening to it either. Okay, so this is good for me. So they obviously come into Tropius here. I was a little bit late on the switch here, and we actually get to the moves at the same time for the Leaf Blade. It's about 6 turns. So I'm gonna look to try to sync the moves here, which puts me in a okay spot here to try to get to the move. So, but I have 2 counters to Bastodon, so I'm not so worried about winning switch advantage here. So I come into Deoxys because obviously Diggersby cannot farm down a Tropius. I think I end up taking like 2. I think I end up shielding this because I do want to preserve a little bit of health in case they do have a Razor Leafer. So I'm gonna look to counter down, and then I'm just barely able to counter down their Tropius. And they come into Bastodon, which, you know, makes me a little bit curious on what's in the bag. So I think I actually build up to a Thunderbolt, and then I switch, and then it ends up being Metacham, and this is okay for me here. It actually ends up being a Psycho Cut Metacham, which is really not expected here. I appreciate the spice there. I think Psycho Cut Metacham is super interesting. Obviously, the Psycho Cuts don't do very much damage. Counter is the best fast move in the entire game, so really hard to give that up. But I expected them to have Dynamic Punch, which is like the moveset that you expect someone to run. You typically expect them to run Psychic and Dynamic Punch with Psycho Cut and Metacham, but it doesn't have the same firepower. And then here, I'm actually like totally good. You'll see how this is why Battle Bill. If you don't know Battle Bill, check him out. This is why they call Battle. This is why Battle Bill calls Diggersby Thickersby. He just took that flamethrower like nothing. Right, like in the red, who cares? Still able to get the Earthquake off. So this is a really very interesting and strong team. So again, that Frost SA switch is so powerful. So okay, so not the best situation for me. This is a pretty neutral matchup. I'm actually able to get the extra counter through, which is really good because it's mostly about the counter damage here. Munchlax and Deoxys are both doing super effective damage to each other. Counter is a better move than Lick, but the thing is that Lick is like one of those like half turn moves, right? And Deoxys, it's called Defense Deoxys, not called HP Deoxys. So those licks actually do a very high percentage because they have a very low amount of health here. So I switch out here to look to get a little bit of extra energy here, and I throw the EQ, and then I'm gonna look to actually be able to get the extra mud shot through, which is really good for me. I know this is gonna be a power punch, but Diggersby is very tanky. I kind of make like maybe a miscalculation here. But I did what I thought was the safest play, was I needed guaranteed damage so I can farm this down afterwards. So I go for the Fire Punch, they end up no shielding it, and then I go for another Fire Punch, which is totally fine for me. They end up no shielding, and then here comes Hypno. So I know it's 3 more to the punch, so I end up sacking here. And I figured that's like my only win con was to pull off the sack. And I'm gonna throw in the middle of their middle of the confusion, a little bit energy inefficient, but it allows me to make sure that they can't catch. So I know they're gonna switch at some point in time. So I can't farm down this much luck. There's just absolutely no way. And so it should actually already be close or at the move. And then so I'm going to look to throw this Shadow Ball here to take out this Hypno. So I knew I was going to outpace the Hypno, so I wasn't too worried. Plus I have a shield still. So they're mostly going to look to fast moving down. Again, it's like pretty difficult to sack with Hypno because like the moves just take absolutely forever, and you can for sure control when you're going to throw. So here comes the zoom roll. I'm going to look to build up some additional. I'm going to sync the move here. So I threw exactly at 6 bubbles. So they switch out into so I make a huge mistake in this match. I kind of overthought it because I know it's gonna be a Alolan Marowak in the back. I know this team. It's double Ghost. They have a bunch of energy on. What do I end up shielding this? I can't remember. I end up letting this go. So I'm gonna look to Fire Punch here. Maybe I should have farmed up. I probably should have farmed up actually. I made so many mistakes in this game because I knew it was gonna be a lovely Marowak back. I just know it, right? So I know they're only 3 bubbles away here. So here I'm thinking like contemplating. So I'm like, okay, catch on Frostlass. And then I'm just thinking like, man, if I catch on Frostlass, will they then farm me down with AWAC? So I made like all sorts of kind of dumb plays, very dumb plays on my side. So here comes the Alolan Marowak as expected. I am going to bait here. I'm going to try to catch the move on to... no, okay. I switch out to Deoxys here. And I'm going to throw the Rock Slide here. I don't know if they shield this. They actually don't shield it. Makes sense because obviously EQ would KO. I really wanted to draw that last shield there. So that's absolutely terrible for me. So this is a very absolutely terrible situation for me. So I really should have went for the sack. Or I should have farmed down the Sableye, which is what I probably should have done. And my defense fell, which is terrible for me. And I know this Fire Punch is not going to KO, so... And they have the Bone Club already, so this is going to be GG for me. A really tough line for me to deal with, because I only have 1 Sableye counter and one Alolan Marowak counter, and I really need to farm down or be able to catch the move or any of that stuff. So really fantastically played by my opponent. Okay, so we have next team is Skarmory, Shadow Shiftry, and Shadow Swampert. This is actually a team by Oxford U. If you haven't checked out Oxford U, really fantastic content creator. So I'm going to throw here as if I have the Brave Bird, so potentially draw the shield. So they end up shielding. At this point in time, I'm just going to give up Skarmory. So they actually end up throwing a Bubble Beam at me, which is perfectly fine for me. This is also a fantastic battler. One of my friends, he's actually on my friends list. You'll see the friendship upgrade afterwards. So they come into Scrafty, obviously a really great counter to Shiftry, but Shiftry obviously does an absolute ton of damage here. So I think I ended up shielding this because I really need to get to this Leaf Blade, because the chip damage is obviously going to be super nice there. They come into a Alolan Ninetales, so I know that they're at 2. So obviously they know I want to sack, right? So I just like basically get to the Hydro Cannon and switch. Figure that if they want to CMP tie. So I know this for sure is gonna be Bubble Beam, and I feel kind of stupid, but like the Bubble Beam go through. So I don't get hit by another Bubble Beam because obviously that would be really terrible. I contemplating undercharging there, and at this point in time, it's just a pure guessing game. So they're like 2 away from a Weather Ball. So they had the Weather Ball right there. So it was just a pure guessing game on their side. If I would have baited, then they would have won. If they would have shielded, then I would have lost Sludge Wave. So it's a pure guessing game at that point in time. So it wasn't really too much that they had to do. They had to call the Hydro Cannon or predict that I was going to go Sludge Wave. And typically I try to be a little bit unpredictable, and I do about half in that situation. So, okay, so Ninetales, decent for me, especially if it's Charm, and it ended up being Charm. So I know after 6 Charms they get to the Weather Ball, so I'm gonna build up a little bit here. They do win CMP versus Skarmory, so I'm gonna build up to basically double Sky Attack. They make a beautiful catch here. They actually end up getting the bubble through too as well. So I'm gonna switch to Shiftry. Okay, so they end up getting another bubble through as well, which is pretty bad for me. So I throw the Leaf Blade here. I think I end up snarling this down. It helps that they have Play Rough instead of Ice Beam. So I know it's 5 more. 3. Okay, I'm able to farm it down. And I figure they're going to come into... what I should have done there was I should have threw an extra Snarl before throwing the move. It doesn't... I guess it doesn't make a difference here, but... it would allow me to not give them free charms through, and I transfer the charm over to Skarmory, and then I throw the Sky Attack here, and I get an extra Air Slash through. So this is totally fine for me. I'm gonna just let it go, and then I'm gonna wait the clock out, and then I'm gonna come into Swampert, look to farm down. They come into Scrafty. This is totally fine. This game's over. I'm going to shield this Power Up Punch because I know they're not going to make it to another move on Alolan Ninetales. And then double Hydro Cannon will KO here. If I had Earthquake, which you would never have in Great League, mostly because of Azumarill, then Earthquake would basically be able to allow me to Mud Shot down after there. But double Hydro Cannon is good enough, and we'll be able to take it out and win the game there. This is a pretty interesting team. Double Shadow, obviously really squishy in the back. Really weak to Abomasnow in the back, but let's see how I play this out. So Pelipper, interesting lead. They come into G-Fisk here. So I'm not sure if I miscounted there. I think they're actually 1 short of the EQ when we CMP tie here. I'm like, man, I can't get EQ though. So I'm going to look to... They end up rock sliding me here. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they were 1 short because they're not getting to the move there either. Then here comes Pelipper. I'm going to throw the Sludge Wave here. So I figured it's Bastiodon in the back. So I'm going to switch to Shiftry here, save the Hydro Cannon. And then here, oh no, it ends up being Registeel. I figured it was a second counter to Skarmory, and you'll see like how absolutely ridiculous Shadow Shiftry is. Just the spam, especially against Lock-On Reggie, is kind of ridiculous here because the Lock-Ons do like against Reggie. I'm sorry. Lock-Ons do absolutely nothing. So they have to throw a charge move anyways into Shiftry. So I end up throwing the Foul Play here again. Honestly, I probably could have Leaf Bladed there, but ended up being all the same for me. I have a Hydro Cannon banked, plus Skarmory will be able to beat the Actually, I don't have the Hydro Cannon bag, and but the Skarmory would be able to beat the Reggie at that health anyway. So I switch out, and then they realize that the game is over there. Even though they had a Weather Ball stored, they need to land 3 Weather Balls there. So okay, so that's pretty good for me. See here, Skarmory into Swampert here. So typically what I like to do is if it was regular Swampert, my Skarmory is actually good enough to take 2 Hydro Cannons and still be able to get the second Sky Attack off, but obviously with Shadow it does way more damage. So I know that they are like 1 away, so there you go. I knew that this is going to be a Hydro Cannon, so now they should be out of energy at this point in time. So I go to shift. I make a stupid move here. I actually don't know why I threw the Leaf Blade there, because I knew that there was a chance. This is just gonna be a Hydro Cannon. It does still it's absolute ton of damage, which is not great for me. And then here comes Mandibuzz. Ended up being Air Slash Mandibuzz, so it's not really too much I can do here. I'm just gonna look to sync my moves as much as possible. Give them as little bullet seeds as possible. So I'm gonna end up shielding this. I'm gonna be able to beat this Ferrothorn. 1, 2, 3. You see, I try to stay as disciplined as possible, even in losing situations. It's just a good way to try to stay disciplined. I end up throwing right away, because if I throw right away, then the bullet seed damage. Actually, I think it actually still registered. Yeah, I did. So I'm gonna get this Hydro Cannon off. But if it was Snarl Mandibuzz, maybe I would have a chance. But against Air Slash Mandibuzz, like, there's just no possible way. But both moves are resisted, Leaf Blade and Foul Play. And they both have the same base power, both have Stab. But this Mandibuzz is just way too tanky. I like, my chat really liked the opponent's team. I think that was actually pretty nice too. So, all right, Altaria. So this is an okay situation for me. I'm gonna look to get this extra Air Slash through, which I'm able to, which is great. And then, so Skarmory wins the 0 shield, wins the 1 shield, ends up losing the 2 shield because for some reason Dragon Breath is able to do better than... It makes no sense, this matchup here. Alright, and then... So we end up CMP tying there. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get it to the move. So... I'm going to look to try to farm, not to get to the Sky Attack here. Then I end up losing CMP, which I typically would because my Skarmory is very high ranked. So at this point in time, I'm just going to go into Shift Tree here. I'm going to take a lot of damage here. I'm going to get a lot of energy, which is great for me. They come into Bastiodon. At this point in time, I actually can beat the Bastiodon. So I'm actually going to try to do that. Again, try to give them as few smackdowns as possible. And then be able to go back to back there. And then I'm actually going to be able to make it to the move before they can farm down. They do get the smackdown through there, but this will KO. And then I'm going to switch out, and then they do have Sir Viper here. So this is like a 50-50 match at this point in time. I do have a shield here, so if they end up debuffing me, this game's over. If they don't end up debuffing me, I'm going to be able to make it a Sludge Wave 1 turn before they make it to the next Leaf Tornado. Or like 2 turns. Leaf Tornado's 40 energy, so it's actually 2 turns. They need 5, so... Alright, so end up being pretty good for me. Oh, so actually we move on to the 3rd team here. Actually, no. What am I doing here? 4th team? Oh man, okay, these are a lot of teams. Okay, Deoxys, Umbreon, and I actually want to try to draw the shield there. I want to catch the Shadow Ball anyways. So they're going to be able to make it to the Icy Wind here, which is totally fine for me. I ended up getting extra Snarl through. So I'm going to throw at 3, which is right before they get to the next Icy Wind. So they have the next Icy Wind right now. I doubt that they're going to shield this, obviously. They come into Surf Edge. Here I make kind of a stupid play here. I really want to save this Umbreon because it's already debuffed. So I tried to, I'm like, oh, my clock is almost up. So I tried to Snarl here. And then I kind of that was a very stupid play by me. So I should have just threw the Last Resort there and then switched to try to preserve the Umbreon in case I need it. I don't think I actually ended up needing the Umbreon, so it worked out fine. But this is one of the situations where like it's not always about winning. Sometimes it's about trying to play correctly, and then at that point in time, I felt like I was playing not so well. So really dumb play on my side. So this is going to be CMP. So I'm going to throw the Shadow Bone here, and I'm going to let it go. And I let this go mostly because they would be able to air slash me down before I make it to another one. So I'm going to build up to, what do I go to? I just take it out because the Surf Edge is pretty low. Plus I have a shield and I'm pretty sure I can counter it down. Yeah, I definitely can counter it down. They make it to the Night Slash here. And it's very risky here for me. I end up shielding this. But they end up getting the Attack Riser, which is a pretty risky for me, but I end up doing okay there. So again, nice catch on my side, catching the Shadow Ball. Really dumb play on my side by not throwing the move at the Surf Edge, and end up like making the matchup a little bit closer. Should have been a pretty straightforward matchup at that point in time, but some like bad plays by my side. So here, this is pretty bad for me because obviously this Mew is a little bit troublesome. So I stay in the matchup a little bit here because I'm gonna look to, I have to sack one of my Pokemon or catch a move. So I end up switching here and catching the Surf, I believe. And they come into Scrafty here. So I know this is going to be Asian Milkman's team. So I know it's Skarmory in the back. So I'm really trying to game plan here. And basically my goal here is to try to sweep with Alolan Marowak. But I make some like slight miscalculations here. So they're at... I think like one off the Surf on, so I'm like, okay, I have to call the bait here. So they call the bait here, and then I make a really stupid call here. I should have shielded this. I should have shielded this because I could have rock slided they come back into Mew. I'm going to throw the Bone Club here to try to draw the last shield. And I do. But I know that they have, it's just like not a great situation for me. I should have farmed down. I should have shielded and farmed down with Deoxys against the Scrafty. But my opponent played this absolutely beautifully. I know there's just no way for me to farm down because they're going to get to the Surf. They're like half a turn away from the Surf. And then here comes Skarmory. And then I don't even throw a move here. I'll just let them take me out. So I could have threw counter down, threw the Rock Slide at the Mew. Then I would end up in a situation with either them with 0 shields, no 0 shields, or yeah. Anyways, it would have been better situation for me. I would have had shield advantage going into the last matchup. So here comes Charm Ninetales. So I'm going to look to throw double Rock Slide here. I am going to make it look like I do have a Psycho Boost here as opposed to Rock Slide. So I think I end up going to basically what would look like double Psycho Boost. Actually, it's a little bit more, but that's totally fine. I want to sync the moves there. So I end up just throwing the Rock Slide there because I'm not going to be able to survive this. I didn't think I'd survive the second Charm. So it doesn't matter here. Alolan Marowak's resists all the moves. And then here comes Umbreon. Again, I'm going to look to catch the foul play. So I'm catching the foul play, force him to throw a little bit more inefficiently. I get the snarl through, which is great for me. They're not switching out, which I find pretty interesting here. This should be a last resort. And I'm going to throw the last resort here. They end up switching out into Politoed, which makes sense. They wanted me to dump my energy before switching, but it also causes like massive desync in the clock. But both these Pokemon counter my mine in the back. I think I end up actually switching out here because I figured like this is Alolan Marowak's best matchup. So I think I let this go. And I'm just going to throw the Bone Club here because this thing's so spammy. And this Bone Club should be able to take it out, even though it's a very terrible move. And so what I do here? I figure my clock is almost up. So what I do here is I actually said this in chat. I'm like, I'm going to throw this for the chance for the defense drop. It also does like a decent amount of damage. And they actually do get the defense drop, which is really, really nice for me. Probably unnecessary, to be honest, because I think I would have won anyways. But the damage was nice there too. So it's hard to say. I might have lost this game without that defense drop. The extra shield means I guess the extra shield means I get the extra last resort anyways. Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference, but the chip damage plus the defense drop for sure made it worth it. And then that I'm able to KO their opposing Umbreon. So GG to my opponent. All right. We're going to go into this next match here. Deoxys into Abomasnow. So again, I'm going to try to learn from my last game. They actually end up throwing the Weather Ball here, which is interesting. And then I think they end up switching here. And I go into Umbreon here. And I'm like, okay, if they have a Focus Blast, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on them. Oh, so we end up blocking a little bit here, which was really unfortunate because I actually wanted to throw the foul play there. So I think I slightly undercharged this, but they're already pretty low. So I'm not going to get too much of a farm there. They come into Metacham. So I'm going to look to just get some chip damage here. I think I actually go into Deoxys here because both my Pokemon in the back counter Metacham, so no point in trying to get farmed down. So I'm going to let this go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is another Power Up Punch. I missed the counter somewhere, which is fine. So they're at 1. So I throw the Thunderbolt. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they're at 5. I get a little fancy here, which is so it's 2 Fire Spins, and they have the Psychic here, but they end up not throwing it, which is really nice play by on their side. Because this Metacham, I have 2 shields here, so I should be okay. So they end up throwing the Pop here. So they have the energy for the Psychic. So I'm going to shield here, mostly because the Abomasnow can't do too much to me. And then at this point in time, I'm going to look to just double up on the Shadow Bone here. I got it through the Bone Club there, but it might not have KO'd, so double Shadow Bone. Plus I win CMP versus the Metacham. Going to be more than enough to KO. And I'm able to take it out, so... Yeah, the team was very weak to AWAC, But obviously they have some counterplay with the Hypno and the Psychic from Metacham. All right. I like this team as well. So I go straight into Alolan Marowak. They actually come into Munchlax, which is really bad for me. So I figure that they're going to have Scrafty in the back. So I'm going to look to get this Munchlax as low as possible. So I'm actually surprised that they didn't go for the full lick down. And then coming straight into Umbreon. And then I'm going to look to make sure I have energy coming out of this matchup. A lot of energy coming in this matchup. Because I know it's going to be a Scrafty. Absolutely know it's going to be a Scrafty. This is one of Vergiverg's lines. Munchlax is not used that often. So I'm at 100 energy here. So I'm going to slightly undercharge this foul play. And then I'm going to be able to take it out. So here comes Scrafty. I'm going to throw the Last Resort here. And then my only way to win, wait for them to throw the Power Up Punch. So they throw the pup here. I'm not going to shield. So I throw the Last Resort here. I actually wanted to switch out, but that's totally fine because I want to bank the energy. But this chip damage actually ends up drawing a shield. That's really good for me. So I throw the Rock Slide. A little bit inefficient there, but that's fine. Most of the time they don't carry Shadow Ball in the lead, but I do have 2 shields here. So I figure there's going to be punches. Man, they get a whole confusion through. Kind of poor timing on my side. Let this go, mostly because I had to save the move against the Scrafty. So I'm going to switch out here. And because they stayed in a little bit with their Scrafty, force them to throw their move here. And I'm going to throw the Rock Slide. This should KO the Hypno. And then I'm in a pretty good spot here. Rock Slide is resisted by Scrafty. They're just going to straight Power Punch me here. So 1, 2, 3. So I know that they don't have another move yet. So I'm going to throw the Thunderbolt here. The Rock Slide actually would have been really close to KOing there, but I think they make it to a move. So ended up doing pretty decently there. Had a really, really great day with these teams. A lot of fun, lots of bulk, lots of creative ways of playing there. So anyways, I'm gonna leave there. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.